So something you mentioned a bit earlier in our discussion is you bought a Murcielago.
I did.
That was and you said it was your dream car.
Ultimate dream car, because that's fundamentally the car that got me into cars. I got this book and there was an orange 6.2 Murcielago. It was like 2002. So I was 11 and I saw this car and I was like, someone is driving this on the road? I couldn't believe it, basically. Over time, I've obviously seen a bunch of cars. I've driven a bunch of cars. I've filmed a bunch of cars. And no matter what it was, I always daydreamt about driving this Murcielago. And I couldn't get it out of my head. I've always loved Lamborghinis, not for the way they drive, but the way they look and the way that they sound. And it just was the right time. I'd had the opportunity before when they were much cheaper, but it just didn't feel like the right time. I didn't feel completely stable.
Ready for your channel and everything. And
exactly, yeah. And don't get me wrong, like the transition period between selling my Huracan, buying the apartment, and then jumping almost immediately into like a fairly chunky purchase that also has got a lot of things that could potentially go wrong, both financially, mechanically, everything. Yeah. It was like a fairly interesting time. But the moment that I like bought it and everything went through, it was like a weight off my shoulders. I couldn't quite believe that it was happening. And it's still like the novelty hasn't worn off yet. And awesome. I think that's the most important thing, because like with especially the Huracan, I think the novelty wore off really quick, because it was so easy to drive that you could just jump in it and pop down to Sainsbury's and get out of the car and look back and be like, oh my God, that's what I drove here. Yeah. Like, it's so easy to drive. Whereas the Murcielago, like, you really have to commit to like just getting in it. And then you're like, right, where am I going? Are the roads wide enough? Are there any speed bumps? What's the traffic going to be like? Is there parking where I'm going? Yeah. Parking for a bus. Like, there are so many things that you have to consider. And unfortunately, Google Maps don't have those filters. Yeah. You can't just be like, tick width restrictions.
Why do they not have this?
This frustrates me so much. Like, even today, I've come here in a 2019 Vantage, and obviously it's trying to find the quickest route to the destination. And I find myself in North London through school traffic and everything, and all of a sudden I see this T-junction and it's like, turn left. And I look left and I just see this width restriction.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, no, can't we just turn this off? How it like, and it's just the most frustrating thing. But obviously a Murcielago is like, it is an absolute chore to drive. But when you drive it...
Is yours manual or is it paddles?
E-gear, which I like. I've driven a manual LP640. Don't get me wrong, phenomenal. And for the purist, having a naturally aspirated mid-engine V12 with a manual gearbox, like, there just doesn't exist anymore. But the E-gear and the mechanical shifts in Corsa mode, you can't get from a manual. Yeah, yeah. And the downshifts you can't get from a manual unless you're really good at heel and toe, and I'm not. So like, I love the E-gear. It's like an idiot's access to driving this crazy car as best as possible, because that computer drives it really, really well. And it's not jerky like a lot of people assume, because there's no auto mode. In the Audi R8 on the R-Tronics and in the Gallardos with the E-gear, there's an auto mode, so you can put it in auto mode, and then there's just this like really dated 1999 computer doing the gears for you. But in the Murcielago, it's a manual with an automated clutch. Yeah. So as long as you drive it like a manual, you're fine. Lift off, paddle, go back on and stuff. And it takes a little time to get used to, especially when you're jumping out of a new car, but it adds to the drama. Yeah. It adds to the whole experience.
That bit you said about having something that's difficult to drive and difficult to get in is a really odd one when you can sort of contrast it to what most manufacturers are making now. Yeah. Or pretty much all manufacturers are making now. They're like, it's easy, you can use it every day, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And it does take out of that specialness out of it. Like, you kind of want to, I think with a supercar, you want to look at it and go like, oh, I'm not sure I want to take that out today because of like, whatever the reason is.
Well, your cars, literally the Murcielago could fit right into your car collection, whether you'd want it or not. But like, it's those types of cars that the one thing that I've pinpointed it to is if you can like drive and do a very normal day-to-day chore with it, like, oh, I need milk. I'm just going to go to the local shop and I'm going to park up and get milk. If you can do that in a supercar, then it takes away the fun of driving it because you're doing the normal stuff. Like with you and your F40 or whatever it is, you're not going to do that. So when you do go for a drive, you're going to wring the gears out and you're going to really enjoy it. And
or if you go and get the milk, you're like, this is crazy. What am I doing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you kind of feel like a superhero doing such a normal thing in such a stupid car. Because everyone's looking at me like, that guy's mental. And you're like, yeah, that's me. I'm mental.
And